As Oasis once said, don't look back in anger. And in 2023, we will not look back at 2023 in anger. Today, well, I suppose there's probably a search category. I mean, if you want to, there's people out there searching for it. But today we look back with a little bit of levity. We look back on 2023 and the trends that were happening on Pornhub.
Okay.
Both in the United States and worldwide. And what does this say about us as a society? What I do know is that Generation X, we were the last generation that had a possibility of your first sexual experience containing a paper cut. And that is true. If you're expecting some sort of raw, hardcore conversation about this, it's not going to happen. But if you're ready for a lighthearted conversation from the mind of a 9th grader inside the body of a 48-year-old man, let's go. First thing we're going to get into are the most viewed categories, male versus female.
Okay, this was in 2023 on Pornhub.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I mean, you think about it, our generation, right? Like I said, the whole thing about magazines, that's not a thing anymore.
No.
There was a time when I was a kid, you could walk out in the woods and just find pornography laying there, maybe an old Playboy or some other magazine. Oh, it definitely happened. I don't know if it's guys taking these things out to hunting camps or, in my case, as a 6-year-old boy, and this is how long I have been around the quote-unquote dirty magazine before Pornhub. 6 years old, I was trying to sneak 4 of them out of the house in a brown paper bag. And I tried to tell my mom, and she asked me what's in the bag. At 6 years old, I'm going down the street to Bernie Ralston's house. And she says, what's in the bag? And I said, your birthday present. She said, my birthday's in October. It's in April. What's in the bag? And I went to go out the door. And if you've ever seen, and everyone's seen, A Christmas Story.
Yes.
Where Ralphie and the oh fudge, the slow motion, that's what happened. Except instead of being nuts from a tire going into the air, no, the bolts and nuts didn't go everywhere. Well, there were nuts going everywhere. But there were 4 magazines that went all over the front yard. And yeah. So for a long time, I grew up around it. My dad had a very large collection of magazines. When I say large, I'm talking about 4 stacks, probably about 3 feet high in the back of his closet. And you've met my dad, who is such a sweet, wonderful, nice old man. However, I can tell you that collection started in the mid-'60s and ran through the mid-'90s. And we're talking everything from Playboy on down.
I think I only found like 1 or 2. Like dirty magazines.
But that was just you walking in the street and you found them somewhere or walking out in the woods?
I mean like in our house. Like I don't remember like I think 1 or 2 like magazines and I found them like putting laundry away.
Right.
You know, like they were in the t-shirt drawer or whatever in my dad's dresser or my mom's. I don't remember. It was one of theirs, but yeah, like just putting laundry away, like, you know, and reaching up to put the laundry away. And I'm like, oh, what's this? And I found like a couple dirty magazines, but that's about it.
Dirty magazines.
Yeah, but that's exactly.
Right, that's what they were called.
Yeah, and I think the extent of it were like Playboy. Like there wasn't anything. It was like the most vanilla porn that you can imagine. And that was the porn that was in my parents' house.
Okay, the other thing about growing up is when I turned 18, I couldn't go to the local convenience store and buy a magazine because my brother-in-law's mom was the manager at that store. And everybody in my small town, my town of less than 1,000 people, everybody knows everybody. Of course. In fact, my mom also worked at the video store in town. So everyone remembers the local video store before Blockbuster, the curtain. They had a curtain. And so I also found out when I'm going through junior high, I knew what my teachers rented. And I definitely called out my 7th grade math teacher. Oh, Juicy Lucy. I yelled it from the back of the class. That is absolutely true. He was a bit embarrassed. But then as I get to be 18, I can't go to the local store.
No.
I can't go
drive out of town.
I had to 10-mile drive. Now I remember you telling me the story though. And we're going to get to the Pornhub, but it's just firing off memories now. We'll get to the Pornhub 2023 review. You and your girlfriends, 18, 19 years old, didn't you go to just the local porn store on a Friday night?
All the time.
That's insane.
All the time.
First of all, maybe it happens.
You had to have a membership. You had to pay like 50 cents.
What?
Like, yeah, you had to have a membership. There was a store in our hometown.
Yeah.
And you had to have a membership.
Right.
And you had to go and get a little card, and the card was like 50 cents or $1 or something. But I don't know.
It's like a video store. Like, it's literally like a video store membership.
If it had to
do
with the legalities or whatever. But yeah, like for it to be like a members only club. This was when we had just turned 18 or
Yeah.
And so I had my membership card to the porn store probably before I had a membership to Blockbuster.
See, this is interesting to me because my memories of going to like porn stores would be like going with you, right? I can't see myself at 18, 19 years old going with my buddy and be like, hey, you know what we should go do, dude? Together, let's go to the porn shop. It's not a communal experience. Maybe it is for some guys. I don't know.
We don't know. I don't really think that we really bought much. We bought bumper stickers there.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, we bought bumper stickers.
So did you just feel like a grown-up because you had this? You were like, oh, wow, look at me.
So we would buy the bumper stickers like it said G-Spot Inspector and other various like dirty bumper stickers.
Yeah.
And then the school parking lot. So we would put the bumper stickers on cars that had like a bunch of bumper stickers on them.
Right.
So that way just to see how long it would take, like how long they would stay on there until the person with a lot of bumper stickers like noticed that there was a new bumper sticker on there. And I think we hit a couple teachers with the G-Spot Inspector. So we never really bought a whole lot. We would go there and I think it was the education because there wasn't the internet back then.
Right.
And sex ed was super limited in school.
Yes.
You know, one of my girlfriends was pregnant and with a baby, you know, by the time that she was in high school or senior year in high school. So I think maybe it was education. Like, I honestly don't know, but yeah. I don't know. I haven't thought about that in a long time.
Well, I hadn't either, and I had asked you before we started here if you remember the first porn you ever saw.
No.
I don't remember either. I can tell you the first time I ever saw boobs on film. That is burned into my brain. It was the movie Tom Hanks classic, Bachelor Party. Oh, Tom Hanks, Adrian Zmed, and it was on Betamax, my cousins. I remember them pausing and making sure that little Sean point his head to the TV and make sure he sees this. Because I think I was trying to I was definitely trying to like hide my eyes and do that kind of thing.
Make sure you see your first set of boobs.
Yeah. Now speaking of that, let's get back to the most viewed categories that we had. Okay, how about go through the top 3 for men? What do you think the men's most viewed categories are?
Oh God, MILF. Anime, and I want to just say like barely legal, even though that's an awful thing. And then that might just be recency bias from the news.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna give you, I guess, 2 of those, and actually, you're kind of trending more towards things that people search for, and this is some of the research that I really dug into here because what you got to realize is what people search for isn't necessarily the most viewed categories. People have to search for certain things because they're very specific, but the most viewed categories are very wide and broad things. For men, you mentioned MILF, mature. In the second spot, Japanese. Topping men's favorites. And you get into women in the top 3, Japanese comes in second, which is super interesting. So men and women both. Women favorite by far, what do you think the number 1 for women?
BBC.
That's a combination of a few. Their favorite, again, these are the most viewed categories, not searches.
Okay.
Lesbian.
Oh, okay.
Well, and again, Venn diagram that we're overlapping a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Threesome would be the women's third one. Now, this year, what is interesting, though?
Well, I wonder if they're trying to educate themselves.
There you go. Both lesbian and the threesome.
If that's the most timed watched, are they educating themselves because poly and,
on the rise?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, what else had you mentioned, too, about MILF? That's also on the rise. Think about, we talked about this on the other episode when we were talking about America's love of older women. Go from Martha Stewart and so many other older women right now. Actually, I just saw Diana Ross has a new ad campaign coming out, right?
Oh, really?
So America, again, in love with the older women. Significant growth this year for mature, up 77%.
Good to know.
And GILF. Where we're going beyond MILF, we're going to GILF now, up to 170% higher than it was last year.
Wow.
So really, you could call it the golden age of mature porn is what we're looking at.
And that's what people are watching?
Yeah, the top trends this year, if we're talking trends overall, 2023, the MILF category gained the number 1 spot, become the 5th most viewed category worldwide. And also mature comes 7th most viewed. So you put those together when we're also looking at MILF and mature, and also mature, the second most popular, I told you, second most popular amongst men, and 5th for women. So now we're starting to put these things together where we can still really see where it's building. Increase in granny, that search, by 132%.
Oh my God.
Top terms being granny cougar, BBW granny, and sexy granny. Which, I mean, well, you would think, because there's
all I can think of is Trudy on
Reno 911
with her granny panties. Like, I don't know if that's the thing. Like, I don't know if they're going, if granny and mature are two different things. Like, one sounds like much more of a kink, and the other one sounds a little more lifestyle.
Well, I'll tell you what has, again, come up in the searches are GILF. So you're getting a little more specific on what type of grandma you're looking for when you're adding GILF. That true. Research grows by 168%, topped by hot GILF. So again, we're trying to maybe get away from the little potato ladies and try to get more to what you consider, I guess, your Martha Stewarts.
Yes.
Right? Okay. Also, on the other end, DILF grew by 71%.
Okay. Yeah.
Daddy up 27%. Most popular DILF searches, hot DILF, DILF solo, and muscle DILF. I'm sure if you don't know this, go to the internet, people. It's all I can tell you.
But be careful. Good Lord, be careful when you go to the internet.
Okay, well, that is true. Again, United States, we're talking about the searching. United States MILF became the second most popular search, ahead of the favorite Hentai. Hentai came in third, and you had mentioned that earlier about anime, right? In the UK, what do you think their top trending search was? Grew by 751%, over 750%, 7.57 times more searches this year than last year.
In Great Britain?
In the UK, yes.
In the UK? Well, I keep thinking hot biscuits, but that can't be it. Oh my God.
Our friends from the UK are going to be here very soon.
I know. I'm trying to think what they would find kinky. Swingers and bondage.
Wow, that's interesting. Actually, is mature British. Again, it's not just a US thing, but they're very specific that they want to make sure that they have proper accents. And I mean, mature British trending search there, again, over 750%. The category mature itself, third most watched, and 55% more likely to watch it compared to other countries.
Wow.
So the Brits like themselves some older people. Also this year, Supersize is back. Supersize in 2023. Size is on everyone's mind. Add the word big to any body part. And you'll basically get the time viewed increased to over 14 minutes when they're watching it, compared to 10 minutes on average. Tell you that again. The average watching time is 10 minutes. When someone adds the word big to their search, they're spending an additional 4 minutes watching that porn.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Searches for the term big, bigger, biggest collectively grew by 177%. Searches containing huge growing by 67%. On top of all that, the term massive grows to an impressive 91%. Thank you. I've been working on this. We had some time. Wait, off.
How much was the massive?
Massive grew by an impressive 91%. 91%
time
more
watched.
Well, that we're talking about searches. I guess not the time, but we're talking about how much right now.
Yeah.
BBW category, talk about the size.
Yeah.
Big Beautiful Women saw some love this year, increasing in popularity by 24%. So it continues to be more accepted. More body types are accepted.
Yeah.
And also this year, technology, one of 2023's top searches, Android, grew by 1,689%.
That's interesting.
Sexy robots. The term android often combined with video game searches, android cosplay, android roleplay. Searches for robot growing by 300%. Terms like sex robot, AI robot, 3D robot, anime robot, all popular.
Interesting.
Well, again, where are we getting things with technology? And even if people can't have that real technology, that is now the fantasy. So if someone's role playing into that, we're starting again to get these Venn diagrams where we're overlapping.
So I wonder if they're looking for people who dress up as robots, or if they're looking for AI characters, and you know what I mean?
Well, and again, those are separate searches, but maybe someone is supplementing, let's say, they can't find what they're looking for. That's the great thing about, I guess, the hentai and the anime. Not my thing, not your thing. But I suppose when it comes to animation, sky's the limit. And that's what you see in that kind of stuff. So you can't find that anywhere else. So that's why you go there. Another big search, and this is something you and I talked about, people in uniform. People in uniforms grew by 243%. But think about it. It used to be things like maid uniform. That's going away. Now search is military uniform, cop uniform, man in uniform.
It's control.
Soldier, growing by over 300%. Uniform and soldier searches combined with terms uniform cosplay. Going back to what you're saying, can't get the real thing. So want someone soldier role play and military homemade. So amateur homemade military stuff.
Yeah.
Up on the rise. And something we talked about our generation with Generation X. So one thing that we embraced more than the generation before us, sexual healing. Think about therapy and therapists, things like that. People are seeking sexual release worldwide. Therapy searches grew over 340%. Top trending search in Canada and Australia. Canada up over 500%. In Australia, 500% more searches more this year for therapy as well.
Wow.
More progressive countries. So if
you've got big therapy, you're in business.
Additionally, professions in all the healing space, massage therapist, sex therapist, personal trainer, up 85% as well. What do you think, like you said, about the people, though? What does that mean about us as we're more accepting of therapy? You got to think about the generation that comes after us as well.
It's personal attention, too.
Right.
That's what a lot of those things are. It's a balance between with, I think, the uniform of the control and being taken care of. And then also that huge, what you said, we've become more accepting of using different ways to have stress relief or reduce anxiety. But it's that personal attention, too, of the masseuse, of probably getting your hair done or, just that being taken care of, the therapist.
Right.
It's personal attention.
Yeah.
I think
so, too. I mean, we've been more accepting for therapy, and it means the generations after us have been more accepting as well. You get into the categories by generation. Now, think about Gen Z, okay? 18 to 24-year-olds. We're now talking about the oldest of that generation was born after the turn of the millennium, right? The oldest of that generation right now was born in 2000.
It's crazy.
So those kids, again, when we were talking about earlier, the cosplay, hentai, interactive, those are their top 3 searches. It's much more digital. It's much more futuristic searching, and then we get down to smoking, cartoon, feet, virtual reality, and female, male. But again, a lot of that very tech-based when you're talking about that youngest generation, right? I find that interesting until we get to the feet. That one,
Does the internet blow up if you put a cigarette in your toes?
I think there's one way to find it. Next generation, we move up to just the ones right underneath us. Gen Y, millennials. Top 3 searches there. Muscular men and tattooed women, 69%. And then tattooed women at 43%. Cosplay, again, on their list. Role play, interactive. But not as much technology as the generation that's younger than them.
Yeah.
Then we come to us, Generation X. I'm going to give you a chance now for you. Top relative categories. Just for Generation X, this is men and women together. Top relative categories.
Threesomes, mature. I don't know.
No. And?
Really?
No, these relative categories, it's interesting. The top relative category for Generation X is scissoring, 29%. They're basically saying kind of overlapping where it all comes together.
Yeah.
And then vintage at 28% and transgender coming in 3rd.
Vintage?
Yes, vintage. Stuff from the 80s and earlier. You and I have been watching on...
The 80s is vintage?
Oh, I'm sorry. You want to pull out a calendar and see how long ago...
I didn't know, at what point in time something becomes vintage. I think... Okay.
Yeah,
all right. No, you're right.
I'll give you an example. An antique car at one point was considered 25 years old.
You don't have to. I gotcha.
Right. And we did this the other day in the house. We were talking about something, and I said 40 years ago, and you were thinking it's 30. It's very easy to lose a couple decades here because things happen faster and faster where you're not creating new memories. Yeah. Right. We get into the generation before us, the boomers. Right. Their top 3 there are smoking. Also, transgender and a little hand jizzle coming in at number 3 there for them.
Interesting.
But the transgender, both the Gen X and boomers, and in their top 3.
See, people talk a lot of smack, but your searches will say a lot about you.
Exactly. And it does. I mean, talk about searches, most search terms. What do you think the top search categories worldwide? You said it earlier. Anime.
Yeah.
MILF and lesbian. Really, the MILF and anime, 2 of those 3 weren't even things when we were kids. Most searched term was hentai, and that term's increased in popularity over the years, now held the top spot for 3 years in a row.
Wow.
In the United States alone, hentai was the 3rd most searched term of the year. In 2014, it was the 10th most searched term. So in the past 10 years, it's continued to grow and grow in popularity. The term hentai much more popular than the category, the search term. And that's what I said earlier. When you think about it, someone who's specifically looking for it, they don't know where to find it, but they want a wide selection to go look for it instead of going to, I want this particular one that I know that I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Right? Now, let's get into something that's really interesting. The most search terms in the United States, okay?
Okay.
Holding the top spot for the most search term in the United States, yet again, told you earlier, lesbian. Much like last year, Americans love to see women on women. 2019, 2017, also top search term. MILF rising 1 spot, coming in 2nd, bumping out hentai, which goes into 3rd. Like I said, like the world's most search terms, MILF is desired among Americans as well. And here's the one that I find interesting. The term gangbang, which, don't be offended by the term. If they can use it in Greece, I can use it. If Rizzo can say, hey, what do you think this is, a gangbang? I can say it here. The term gangbang
That's true.
Saw a substantial increase of 12 spots this year. And when you're adding 12 to the gangbang, yeah, it rose 12 spots this year. But we're going state by state now in the United States. So I've got the top top sex search terms, that they, just what words, state by state, people have searched for.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to give you a few states that we have lived in.
Okay.
Right? And let's start with where we are right now.
Florida.
Florida. We think the most searched term in 2023 on Pornhub was in Florida.
GILF.
You know,
GILF,
close.
Sure.
But it's something else that Florida's known for. Big festival that happens. What is it?
Oh, Bike Week?
That's a little too close to home. No, it's Fantasy Fest. Think about how that happening down the Keys. So the word fantasy is the number one search. Yeah, that makes sense here. Some other places we have lived. How about Pennsylvania? That's actually where we met. We met in Pennsylvania. Walked into my radio studio. What do you think the number one?
In Pennsylvania?
In Pennsylvania, what's the number one search term?
Is it food related?
I'll give you half a point.
Potato lady?
That's my term. No. It's big boobies.
Big boobies.
Big boobies.
Stay classy.
And mature. Right? That's the big boobies. You can't find a better way of saying that, you know. Let's go out to the Midwest. We lived in Kansas City, and that was on the Missouri side that we lived. So we'll go with Missouri. What do you think the number one search term in Missouri on Pornhub last year was?
Outdoors.
No, it's transformation. Interesting term, but you also think that there was a lot of controversy in whether Kansas or Missouri were going to affirm transgender rights.
Yeah.
And so Missouri, actually the KCMO, and Kansas, big split there. And we know that that's literally a few streets difference. So I think that transformation, Missouri falling on one side of the issue, Kansas falling on the other. That's why that probably
I know you're
happened.
probably right, but I immediately thought of Transformers. Well, you were talking about the like all the cosplay.
Yes.
And so
okay. There's probably a more than meets the eye joke there, but I'm not going to make it. It's 2024 and I don't do those things. On the other side of the border there, Kansas, their number one search was Close Up. And
wow.
A few other interesting ones that just jump out that are weird here. Texas, they love looking for the term creamy. I can only assume what they're looking for there.
Yeah.
Arizona, they have a fascination with Hondas, perhaps with Fords, Chevys, I don't know, because they had the car sex is the number one thing that they're looking for in Arizona. And in New Jersey,
like with the cars or people in the cars, I guess you have to search.
I guess, it all depends. There's something out there for everybody.
There is.
New Jersey, and this is not even maybe it's a euphemism. I don't know. Is this a term? I don't know. Someone might be able to help me with this. The term is Turkish. And I don't know if they're looking for a person that perhaps is from Turkey or if there's some sort of sexual position or innuendo that I don't know.
Wow.
But Turkish. Now, top countries by traffic around the world. Let's go there. What do you think the number one country with the highest traffic on Pornhub in 2023?
The United States.
Well, of course, by far it was the United States. However, the Philippines is number 2.
Wow.
Philippines, but we're talking about like United States more than double. Yeah. More than double them.
Yeah.
What do you think? I'll give you 3, 4, and 5. What do you think? 3, 4, and 5 of countries most visiting Pornhub in 2020.
UK, Germany, and Brazil.
No, and no.
Wow.
France, Mexico, and I'm sorry, UK does come in at 5. So UK, you do have that one.
That's close.
But they are down 3 spots from last year in the UK. They time spent visiting. Now, although the United States has the most time, you have to extrapolate that over a larger population. The average time spent per session is 10 minutes and 9 seconds. But what country do you think has spent the most time per session?
The United States.
No, it is not.
Really?
It is not. In fact, the United States is, they were up 16 seconds from last year to 9 minutes and 57 seconds, but still lower than the average of 10 minutes and 9 seconds. The United States, way down on the list, not the number one longest time spent on there. Guess again.
Mexico. Canada.
Nope. We're going to go Philippines. Most time spent per visit.
I guess that makes sense. Well, no, if they were second earlier, then it would make sense for them to be
I'll give you that.
again.
I'll give you that. Smaller population, right?
Yeah.
But they also were the second. So then, yes, exactly. Japan coming in second with the most time spent, 11 minutes, 14 seconds. And Egypt, down 24 seconds from last year. They're down to 10 minutes and 48 seconds, still holding a solid third spot.
That's interesting.
It is an interesting statistic, and that's what I love about this. The Philippines leading the duration chart. Mexico up, though. You did mention Mexico earlier. I'm just scrolling here as I get to them. They are well up. Wow, 77 seconds from last year, adding over a minute to last year. Well done, Mexico. I'm sure anyone there would agree with me. Now, how about the most viewed categories in the world? I think we're going to wrap up on this. The global preferences by category around the world. So we're talking country, we're talking continent. What do you think that the United States of America, and most of Africa, the sub-Saharan Africa, what do you think the United States and sub-Saharan?
MILF, mature.
No, both looking for ebony. The term ebony. Most viewed category was ebony. But if we go to Canada, what do you think their most viewed category is up north?
Feet.
It is not feet. They're looking for the beaver because they love lesbians. And also they're combined with Australia, two opposite ends of the globe.
Yes.
But actually, if you connected them together.
Oh my God.
I'm just saying they both searching for lesbian. In the Middle East, of course, number one search term, Arab. That doesn't surprise me. And I guess we'll close up here with Russians, very similar. Russia, searching for Russians. Leave you with this. What I know about going through all this, there is something for everyone. It doesn't matter what you're looking for, whether it's on Pornhub, and the great thing about the internet, everything's available. Yes. Whether you want to find somebody dressed up with lobster claws on their hands and stuffing gummy bears in places that you don't want to talk about. They are more than meets the eye. And on that note, we're going to get out of here. Before we go, don't forget, we do have a bonus here for this week's podcast, and that's the playlist that's available on Spotify. Yes. Sex and drugs and rock and roll. Enjoy that playlist, and we will talk to you again real soon.